Hi, I'm Nicole Zacola, Literacy Specialist at Vantage Learning. As we step into this final session, from framework to practice, I want us to think about what it really means to say that writing is a system. Not a strategy, not a checklist, not a unit, a system. Because when we look closely, we see that the domains of writing don't operate in isolation. Organization influences content. Language shapes meaning. Conventions protect clarity. Everything connects. There is intentional movement between these domains. We don't stumble into revision, we plan for it. We don't hope students elaborate, we model how. And writing grows through iteration. Improvement happens because writers revisit their work, refine it, and cycle back with new understanding. When we see writing this way, interconnected, intentional, iterative, instruction becomes cohesive, and students begin to feel that structure supporting them. If writing is truly a system, then it makes sense to start at the very top with what fuels the entire process. Strong writing begins long before the first sentence is drafted. It begins with knowledge. When we build background knowledge, we give students something meaningful to think about. Integrating reading and writing allows them to see how strong writers organize ideas, weave in evidence, and shape language for effect. A mentor text becomes more than something to read. It becomes something to study. Teaching vocabulary in context ensures students don't just recognize academic language, they feel confident using it with intention. When students understand both the topic and the language surrounding it, writing feels less intimidating. It feels possible. Once students have knowledge to draw from, the next step is giving that thinking direction. The platform gives writing direction. Clarifying audience and purpose can be as simple as asking, who needs to understand this? Why does it matter? What do we want our reader to walk away thinking or doing? Authentic writing tasks increase relevance. When writing feels real, engagement shifts. And revision deserves structure. When we intentionally build revision cycles into instruction, modeling how drafts evolve, we normalize growth. When purpose is clear and revision is expected, writing becomes thoughtful communication rather than task completion. With purpose established and revision planned, attention naturally shifts to how ideas are organized on the page. Organization brings clarity to ideas. Teaching text structures explicitly, whether compare and contrast, cause and effect, or argument, gives students a framework for shaping their thinking. Modeling paragraph focus helps students understand that each paragraph carries one central idea. Drafting one together and tracing how each sentence connects back makes that focus visible. Revising for logical flow might mean rearranging sentences, strengthening transitions, or asking, does this progression make sense to the reader? When structure is modeled intentionally, it becomes something students can apply with confidence. And once ideas are clearly structured, this is where writing gains depth. Modeling elaboration strategies shows students how to extend a claim with explanation and reasoning. Teaching evidence integration means demonstrating how to introduce evidence clearly, explain its significance, and connect it back to the main idea. And often, the most powerful move is simply asking, what does this show? Why does this matter? Can you take this idea one step further? Those questions invite thinking, and thinking strengthens writing. As ideas deepen, the way those ideas sound begins to matter even more. Language is where ideas come alive. Teaching sentence combining helps students link ideas smoothly and improve clarity. Modeling sentence expansion demonstrates how adding phrases or clauses sharpens meaning and adds sophistication. Connecting language to audience reminds students that tone shifts depending on who is reading. When language becomes intentional, students begin to feel ownership over their voice. And as voice takes shape, we make sure clarity stays protected. Conventions protect clarity. Teaching patterns in context keeps grammar tied to authentic writing. Focusing on high-impact errors ensures revision is manageable and meaningful. Editing during revision reinforces that conventions are part of refinement, not something separate from writing. When students understand that conventions help their reader, editing becomes purposeful. When we zoom out, something powerful becomes clear. Purpose shapes structure. Structure shapes content. Language expresses meaning. Conventions protect clarity. These layers work together. When students understand how each domain influences the next, writing feels coherent rather than fragmented. And coherence builds confidence. But writing doesn't move through these layers once and stop. Writers revisit domains constantly. They adjust structure, refine evidence, clarify language. Revision strengthens writing because each pass deepens clarity. Growth happens through cycling, not in a straight line, but in loops that gradually strengthen the whole. When we normalize that process, students stop expecting perfection in a first draft. They expect growth. And that brings us to reflection. As you reflect, consider, what is one domain you'd like to emphasize more intentionally? What is one strategy you could implement this week? What is one integration move that could strengthen alignment across your instruction? It doesn't require an overhaul. It begins with one thoughtful shift. Small adjustments compound over time. As we close this series, I want to leave you with something simple and powerful. The writing carousel isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about bringing clarity to the work you're already doing. Writing is layered. It's iterative. It grows through modeling, feedback, patience, and revision. And so do we. We revisit lessons. We refine strategies. We adjust instruction. We learn from what worked and from what didn't. That's not weakness. That's professionalism. That's growth. When we approach writing as a connected, intentional system, we do more than improve essays. We help students organize their thinking. We give them language to express ideas that matter. We show them that revision is part of becoming stronger, not proof that they weren't good enough to begin with. Over time, something shifts. Writing stops being an assignment to survive. It becomes a tool for thinking, a vehicle for voice, a pathway to independence. That is lasting work. And as we continue refining our practice thoughtfully and intentionally, we are not just teaching writing, we're shaping communicators. Everything we've explored throughout this series is grounded in decades of research on writing development, strategy instruction, language acquisition, and knowledge building. The carousel doesn't replace what we know. It brings coherence to it. When research and practice align, growth becomes sustainable. And that's the work we continue building.